Greetings, I am Herbert Erpaderp, and today, by patron choice, I'm going to build some 15mm scale plastic Churchills from Battlefront. These are, as you can see, boxed for Flames of War. Hopefully just saying that won't get me demonetized. Anyway, the plastic inside the box is the same as those packaged for tanks by Gale Force 9. As you can see in the bottom right, or maybe by there being 5 tanks in the picture on the box, this kit makes 5 tanks. My plan is to build 4 as the late variant and 1 as a Crocodile. On the back of the box we can see some examples of variants this kit can make. I think these pictures might actually be the old resin models though. The variation in side cables and less neat wheels give it away. I guess it's not really a problem, but it would have been nice if they'd just taken some pictures of the plastic models. If they'd asked, I would have painted some and taken pictures, though I'd probably paint them pink and I don't think they really want that. Anyway, the box isn't that important at all. Let's have a look at what's in it. First, there's a set of stat cards. These aren't for Flames of War though, they're for tanks, which is a good cross-promotion, or just in case you want to use these Churchills in tanks. These are included as bonus content, which, according to the website, will be included while stocks last, so you may still be able to get them. These objective markers are also bonus content. I rather like them, though if I had my way there would be 2 of the one with the Churchill. That seems a bit more relevant to this box. Either way, they're free and cool, so I won't complain. They have a nice felt, or I think it's felt, backing on them to stop them from sliding around your gaming surface. Very nice. Also included is a set of decals. These are pretty basic, just some stars and squadron markings. They do look good, but if you want coloured squadron markings, you'll have to source them elsewhere. That's nice, Herbert, but where's the plastic, I hear you say? I got your plastic right here! It's pretty nice. There are 2 sprues for each tank. One of them is a common sprue for all variants of the Churchill, and the other is for the late 4 and 7 variants, as it says right there on the sprue. There is also a sprue of commanders. There's enough to put 1 on each tank and have 1 left over. The parts on these sprues look really neat and tidy, which, to be honest, is what I kind of expect of the newer Battlefront plastic stuff. It's all crisp and nice looking. There are mold lines, of course. Like I've probably said a billion times, they're kind of inescapable. Fortunately, they're not too bad at all here, and shouldn't take much effort to clean up at all. The detail is pretty good, though of course you wouldn't call it super detailed. It is after all a 15mm scale wargaming kit. But, for what it is, it's pretty decent. The detail is a bit chunkier than some like, but I'm fine with it. That's just Battlefront style, I suppose, and it is consistent with their other stuff. There's quite a few alternate parts and extras. A lot of those are going to end up in my bits box, which is always nice. It actually looks like you could build 2 full turrets for each tank. I didn't think of this when actually doing the build, and now there isn't really time to go back and film it. I'm pretty sure it could be done though, and that's cool. I don't think anybody likes it when you get a kit that can almost build 2 turrets but lacks enough hatches or whatever, so I'll always award bonus points for being able to build multiple turrets. Not that I'm actually giving points or anything, but you know what I mean. Anyway, the commanders look pretty decent. I will admit it's kind of tempting to use a couple of them, though I don't usually add crew figures to my tanks. Just a personal preference. But these do look pretty nice. Also included in the kit is a set of instructions. This is a bit unusual for a Battlefront kit. This is in black and white and on some thin paper. It's not too bad though. Instructions can also be found on the Flames of War website, but it's pretty much the same as this sheet. They do usually have much nicer, more detailed assembly guides, and I will admit to being a little bit surprised and disappointed that they've not done that for this kit. That said, it's not really needed. The kit is pretty simple to build. Speaking of build, let's do that. I've started with magnetising the turrets. This is of course optional, and no magnets are included with the kit, though it does come with some pins that you can use instead of magnets. I'm pretty sure Battlefront do still sell magnets, but I've sourced mine elsewhere. They are a bit thicker than the ones the model is designed for, which is why I've put one of the magnets on the inside of the turrets. I do have a video where I go into a bit more depth about how I magnetise my models, and I will link that in the description and in the upper right corner of the screen now. I start the actual build by attaching the tracks to the hull. The instructions aren't very clear about this, but you need to add the tracks before the upper hull part or they won't fit, at least not without a fight. The tracks do have keying, so they should be pretty hard to put on backwards or upside down, which is nice. I apply a bit of pressure and both track sets are on. So far so good. Next, I attach the upper hull. This doesn't really seem to want to sit properly by itself towards the rear of the tank, so I add a bit more glue there and introduce our old friend Mr. Pressure. He can be quite persuasive. It ended up looking pretty neat, though there is a big gaping hole here. It's probably a good idea to fill that with the whole rear part. The fit here was a bit tight, so it also needed a bit of persuasion by Mr. Pressure. This is of course the standard whole rear part. If you want to build the Crocodile version of this tank, you'll need a different part, but we'll get to that in a bit. Let's add a few more details, starting with these side hatches. There's one for either side, both square and round. I'll be using these round ones. These are keyed so you get them on just right. Actually, there is a little bit of play to them, but they're not hard to get on nice and straight. The one for the left side of the hull has a little bit of extra keying so you can tell which one goes on which side. Then come the spare track links. These aren't keyed, and I found them a little bit fiddly to get into the right spot. I was both helped and hindered by those little bumps that you can see there. I got there in the end though. Next, I add these front mudguard things. These are an optional part, and I will most likely be leaving them off most of the other Churchills in this box. These go on okay, though they don't seem to fit quite perfectly. They ended up a tiny bit lopsided. Not really a big deal though. These are not armour, and I'm pretty sure they would be easy to bend out of shape. Then we can install the upper front plate. This is a simple and easy part to get into place even without any keying, and it conveniently has the machine gun already moulded into it. Obviously do be sure to use the correct front plate part for the version of the Churchill that you're building. And that's the basic late version Churchill hull completed. Looks good. Like I said at the start of the video, I plan to build one of these as a Churchill Crocodile, which requires a different whole rear part. This goes into place pretty much exactly the same way as the other one, including the tight fit. You can see at this stage I hadn't yet cleaned out the rectangular hole on the rear into which the trailer will attach, but I did eventually do that. The Crocodile uses the same front plate as the regular late version Churchill, but we have to add the flame nozzle thing, and that just sort of sits right here on the machine gun. How convenient. I nudge it into place, and that's the Churchill Crocodile hull complete. It's not massively different, but it is different. Though, to be fair, you could use the regular Churchill hull as a proxy. I'm pretty sure most people won't really mind, and I wouldn't play with those who do. Anyway, the time for turret building is now upon us. Both the Crocodile and late Churchill use the same turret, which is pretty convenient for me. It's also really simple to put together. I start by gluing the turret bottom into place. It should be flush with the bottom sides of the turret body. Next, I install the front of the turret. This did need a bit of pressure, but was otherwise easy to get into place. There is a bit of a mess at the top of this part, but that'll be easy enough to remove later. Next comes the hatch. I think I've put this in the right way. There's no keying to guide it or anything like that, but it's still fairly simple to put in. There is also an open hatch you could use here, which is useful if you want to use the commanders. Installing the stowage box on the back of the turret is incredibly simple, though do use the correct part of course. Then I drill out the barrel of the main gun. This is almost too small for this, and I was worried I might break it, but I didn't. There should also be holes in the sides of the muzzle brake, but I was pretty sure I would break it if I drilled those out. After that, I glued the gun into place. This is pretty easy. There's a tiny bit of keying that should help here. The turret can then go onto the hull, and it's held there nicely by the magnets. And with that, the late variant of the Churchill is now complete. The tank portion of the Churchill Crocodile is also complete, but it needs a trailer to hold the fuel to make all of that fire with. What's the point of a Churchill Crocodile if you aren't going to burn stuff? The two halves of the trailer go together pretty easily, though there is a bit of a gap down the sides and at the rear. They're not the worst gaps in the world, and they should be easy to fix. Then, the wheels. These have a kind of keying and they're very easy to get into place, though it would certainly pay to make sure that they're on nice and straight. And that's it, the trailer is done. It can easily slot into the rear of the Churchill tank like so. There's no articulation of course, but at this scale there doesn't really need to be. I'm going to leave this unglued, and I don't think I will glue it even after painting. It makes sense to me to have the trailer detachable. You could probably actually magnetize this, but it seems like it might take a bit more work than I want to do. So, that's it. 2 versions of the Churchill done. I do have a couple of other Churchills in this scale to compare with, so let's take a look at those. I don't think I really need to say much here. You can easily see the differences for yourself, and make up your own mind which, if any, you like better. My preference probably isn't going to shock anybody that's seen my videos before, but myself, I like the 2 plastic models over the metal and resin one, which is from Battlefront. The other plastic tank in grey is from the Plastic Soldier Company. Obviously the turret on the middle tank is different to the other 2, but I think this is still a good comparison. Obviously all of these models have slightly different details. To me, the most noticeable ones are the differences in the air intake box things on the hull sides, the exhausts, and the vents at the rear of the hull. Also, the road wheels are significantly different and nowhere near as defined on the resin model. All in all though, while I would definitely prefer the plastic models, all of them are fine and won't look too bad on the gaming table. At least not after some paint is applied. Anyway, this comparison isn't really trying to say anything, I just think it's nice to show what options are available where I can. I had a lot of fun building this kit. There was barely any mold lines or flash or anything that needed cleaning up. Obviously I still spent some time doing that, but not as much as I might with other kits. Everything went together nicely, and without much more than a little bit of pressure, which I find most kits need at some point anyway. I think you could easily whip this entire box of Churchills together in an afternoon. They're that quick and easy to build. That said, I would always suggest taking your time and being careful, rather than trying to rush and get things built quickly. The end result is pretty good looking in my opinion. The detailing is fairly nice, though they're never going to be given any prizes for being super detailed. But they are gaming pieces, and they're in 15mm scale. Super fine details just get broken when you handle the tank, and nobody really wants that. I think the detail is pretty decent for what they are, and they'll look plenty detailed from a distance when they're on the table anyway, so I'm very happy with this kit, and I quite like the variety you get in it. Very nice. My patrons chose this kit over the plastic Katyushas when I polled them to see which they would like to see me build first, and you know what? I'm glad they did. I really enjoyed this build, though the Katyushas are probably pretty good too. We'll see about those in a while. If you want the chance to vote in polls like that, along with some other benefits, head on over to my Patreon page. There's a link in the description. Go on, you know you want to. So, what do you think of these plastic Churchills? Have you built this kit yourself? Do you enjoy using them to crush your foes in your 15mm scale games? Or, conversely, do you enjoy blowing them up? Let me know in the comment section below, and if you have any questions or other comments, they can go in the comment section too. That is what it's for after all. Also, don't forget to subscribe, follow, ding the bell, and all the other things you do on YouTube and social media things. Links to all of the things including Patreon and my merch store are in the description below. And, as always, I shall return soon. So until then, be excellent to each other and thanks for watching. Farewell.